Our scripture this morning is from Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 18. You shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor yourself. I am the Lord. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. Grand topics like love are ridiculously big to fit into a sermon, much less the Advent season, and for that matter, any linguistic expression. It's big, it's unwieldy, and even the muse of poets is rendered ineffable, and we don't know what to say. True love is just impossible to describe. It can also feel like it's just this big black hole of a topic, hence today's title. And the Bible seems to agree. Love is mentioned over 800 times, and it ranges everything from human emotion to a behavior choice to an allegiance, a devotion to a particular person or state, an act of procreation, and a partnership. So even our opening scripture describes love as how we should act. Now, I was pondering these ideas this week, and I happened to put on the radio, which is just rare because I had a little window when I was in the car. And suddenly on NPR, programs A1A, it's called, they had a program on black holes. And I went, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I get it. And the initial discussion was about what we've all come to understand, that there's a density, gravity so dense that it sucks everything into it. No, not even light can emerge. And some describe it as the death of a star or an implosion. However, the host had some astrophysicists on, and they immediately expanded our view of that. First of all, a black hole is apparently not black, and it's not a hole. It was originally called a catastrophic gravitational collapse, but the lecturer kept having to say that, catastrophic gravitational collapse. And he was getting frustrated. He said, I don't know what to call this. And somebody from the audience said, why don't you just call it a black hole? And it stuck. So it's in the nomenclature as a black hole, but it is not really that. And by the way, we've only discovered 2 so far that we have actual evidence of. So apparently what we've come to believe as a big vacuum cleaner sucking everything into it is not that at all. Metaphysically and spiritually and physically, it's just that we cannot see beyond it. We can't imagine beyond it. And in fact, they're more accurately referred to now as event horizons, just kind of the edge of an event, an edge of the known universe. And I quote, black holes have 2 parts. There's the event horizon, which you can think of as the surface, though it's simply a point where the gravity is too strong for anything to escape, a shadow. And then at the center is the singularity. It's almost like they're speaking pure metaphysics right there. Our astrophysicists call it a place, not a thing, a void. And a place, not a thing, is how we metaphysicians describe God. It's an energy pattern, a singularity, not a thing, but a force, a field, outside of time and space. And on the second Sunday of Advent, I would pose to you that love itself is outside of time and space. Love is a place, not a thing or a feeling. It's part of the void, part of the singularity. Now, I'm not saying that if we travel through the wormhole, we're going to see God. I don't mean that. But what the black hole, this event horizon, seems to indicate is that what we see is only 4% of the known universe. 4%. Meaning that 96 of it 96% is the remainder, which we do not simply have in our awareness, as if it's held by God until the expansion of our consciousness, the expansion of our awareness of love makes it visible. And we eat that 4% to 4.5% eventually. You shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. To highlight this point that love also is beyond time and space, I would point you to a fascinating energy healing called family constellations. I don't know if any of you have heard that. It was coined, the term, by a man named Bert Hellinger. And it's a different form of therapy than what we're used to hearing about: cognitive therapy, behavior therapy, psychotherapy. And that not much is discussed. It's not analytical. It's not talk therapy. It's experiential. And it too is ineffable. I had the remarkable experience of attending a long weekend retreat on this technique in grad school. It was so powerful, I'm surprised it never has worked into a sermon before. The method has been described as quantum mysticism because it incorporates an idea known as morphic resonance, that when you change the vibratory energy, it is quantum, it heals beyond time, forwards, backwards, multi-generational. So briefly, the process goes like this. Someone volunteers to see their family patterns. And the rest of us who are seated just like this, are selected by the facilitator. In this case, it was a gentleman named Ron Young, who is a disciple of Bert Hellinger. And so he learned from his teacher. And we are assigned, if there's a volunteer, then we are assigned as family members. And it doesn't matter the gender, the age, anything. You're representing an energy pattern. And the volunteer just watches these dynamics. It's a constellation that's unfolding. And there's very little speaking. In fact, I'm going to call them avatars, the people who represent the family members. They move, they have emotion. Sometimes it's very physical. But it's almost like what the volunteer gets to watch the family dynamic unfold on a soul level. I'll give you a quick example. My friend Chaim was struggling with his family at the time, and they were almost not speaking anymore. It had gotten so intense. And Chaim said, I would like to see my family dynamic. And so people were selected, and he's watching this unfold. What he watches is that his parents, who were holding a lot of expectation for him, continue the family line. Here's what we want of you. Why don't you do this and do that? And that was what was causing the rift. His parents in this constellation were focused on the ground, were focused on a child that seems to have passed away. All their energy was there. And the one representing Chaim himself was shunned aside, ignored. Oddly, I was selected to be the baby that had passed on. So I experienced it from kind of an internal perspective. And all the pressures of the family were felt on this child. Now, to cut to the end, Chaim found this unbelievably powerful and wept continuously. And what he saw was that all the expectations of being the eldest child and being the one to hold the family together and carry on the lineage was in fact not him. He was not the firstborn. He was the secondborn. So it never suited him. It never felt right. And they never told him there was a previous child. The whole time he kept hearing, Shlomo, Shlomo, Shlomo. And bless my friend Chaim, he, at some point later in the retreat, called his mother and he said, Mom, this is what I've learned and this is what I experienced. And she said, yes, there was a miscarriage and you were the second, in fact. And he said, what were you going to call that baby? And she said, Shlomo, the exact name he kept hearing. So my point here is that through that non-verbal, just the experiential component of that, love healed beyond time and space. Multi-generation. Bert Hellinger wrote a book called Love's Own Truths, and it's some difficult reading at times, but it shows time and time again that love is retroactive. And it kind of goes into this black hole void and can come back with some very healing energies over generations, to the physical, to those in spirit, revealing that love will eventually heal all. You shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. I've been repeating that opening scripture quite a bit. It's a reminder of the golden rule, which is never a bad thing. But there's this remarkable little tag at the end that maybe you've caught. I am the Lord. Perhaps it's a reminder that divine law is supreme, that divine power is foremost. But the more I know about love in these funny experiences, I see it less and less as love, the emotion, less as a human construct, and more like, I am the Lord, there is love, period. Like that comes first. And if we listen to the scripture in reverse, listen to it this way. I am the Lord. You shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Almost sounds more like a benediction than a threat, doesn't it? There is God, there is love, be kind to one another. Remember that opening quote about black holes? I'm going to change the subject here. Love has two parts. There's the event horizon, which you can think of as the surface. And then at the center is the singularity. That is infinitely small and infinitely dense. But it doesn't have to be huge, as I was afeared this last week. We can make little chips in the huge cosmos of love. And at the end of the program, the astrophysicists gave us a beautiful little hint. Apparently, there's a little attention being given to what are called micro voids. Apparently, the universe is filled with mini black holes, little pockets outside of time and space, and apparently they're littered everywhere. So in this season, when you get overwhelmed or sad, or you feel any human emotion that's big, imagine a micro void where you slip into, return with a sliver of love as we know it from source, beyond time and space, and bring it back to your current dimension of awareness. May you pop in and pop back. May you note the immediate healing effects of the singularity of God's love. And may you be blessed with countless little graces where the divine peeks through the cracks of our illusions, revealing love not only as an emotion and not even as a benediction, but as the fabric of life. A blessed holiday season to all.